This validation, it was validating the Occupational Safety and Health Bill. Perhaps I can just give you a very brief where are we coming from before we start talking about the validation of the bill. 2023, the ministry has been facilitating for the drafting of Occupational Safety and Health Bill towards the end of the year. And last year, around June and July, the drafting team, we have a drafting committee comprised of the government, the employers, and the workers. You know, in labor, we work in a tripartite setup where you have all the three constituencies being represented in any process which is taking place. So this tripartite drafting committee, after finalizing drafting the bill, we went for stakeholder consultation where we have consulted 6 regions in person, and we also called, or the ministry also have had a call or requested for stakeholder and public written submission into the bill or on the bill. So after receiving these inputs from the stakeholder consultations and also from the written submissions, this tripartite task force incorporated those inputs into the bill. Now, after incorporating these inputs, the task force were required to go back to the stakeholders to verify and verify whether their inputs were incorporated and then validate the bill. So that is the process, and that is how we ended up having this validation of the Occupational Safety and Health Bill.
Okay. Now, how has the ministry approached the drafting of this Occupational Safety Health Bill to ensure that there is inclusivity and responsiveness to the needs of workers and employers alike? I know that you mentioned the stakeholder and public written submissions, but then what else has the ministry approached in drafting of this bill?
The ministry, or let me say the Namibian Occupational Health and Safety System, it's an improving system which is growing systematically. Systematically. We have a systematical approach that before we started drafting the bill, we had some processes that took place before. The first one is a situational analysis which was conducted in 2013, 2014, conducted at the national level, looking at the situation and the situation of occupational safety and health in the country. This situational analysis have identified some gaps in the system, gaps related to the regulatory framework, gaps relating to the administrative and institutional arrangements, gap related to technical issues. Now, let me say also indicate that this situational analysis was documented, and we have a compiled profile of the Namibian occupational safety and health situation. The situational analysis have give specific recommendations on what need to be done for us to close the gaps and address the issues that were identified or challenges that were identified by this situational analysis. One of the recommendations which I can just mention here is that Namibia need to have a primary law in occupational safety and health. The second one is that Namibia need to develop an occupational health and safety policy which have to stipulate clearly the issues that need to be addressed, which were identified by the situation analysis, and how the issues of how and by when. So this policy is implementable for a period of 5 years. This policy was adopted in 2021. That is when we have adopted our occupational safety and health policy. The occupational health and safety policy, or occupational safety and health policy, it has got objectives and strategies. So some of the one of the objectives really, which I can highlight here, is that we need to improve on the occupational safety and health system and infrastructure, and these include, or to say the strategy under this is to harmonize the the legal instruments that are pertaining to occupational safety and health and come up with one occupational safety and health law. Again, one thing that perhaps I can indicate which the policy provided for is that we need to come up with a task force to oversee the implementation of this policy. And this is now the task force that I've been referring to, saying we have a task force which has drafted the bill. Now, having the policy proposing for a development of a primary law in occupational safety and health, the government have deemed it necessary for us to, before we get into the bill itself, we need to have a legal gap analysis analyzing our current legal instruments on occupational safety and health in comparison with the International Labour Organization's conventions, the key conventions in occupational safety and health. We have 3 of them, which we have made comparison with as we were now analyzing our legal instrument. The first one is Occupational Safety and Health Convention 155 and the Promotional Framework of Occupational Safety and Health Convention 187 and Convention on Occupational Health Services, Convention 161. We also have touched the protocol to Convention 155, which is a protocol which deals with the notification and recording and notification of occupational accidents and diseases. Mm-hmm. So the legal gap analysis also found some gaps, minor gaps, and they give also the recommendation to say we need to come up with a law in occupational safety and health and also domesticate these conventions, turn it into a law. After that legal gap analysis is when now the drafting committee started crafting this law. So that is now the approach that we took, that before we crafted, we have those processes that took place before.
Okay, now Ms. Nghidengwa, do you feel that the Namibian businesses are fully prepared to comply with these proposed regulations?
I must say they are. Looking at the eagerness of this bill to be finalized. You know, when we went for stakeholder consultation, after the consultations, I have people behind me ever calling or sending an email, Petrina, when are we finalizing this bill? How far are you with the draft bill? When is the validation from employers, from workers? And this is really a good indication that the businesses, they are waiting for this bill because they need clear guidance in terms of how to approach certain issues or certain matters at workplace. Stakeholder consultation and what we had during now this validation workshop, the participation, the engagement, the input and discussions, it's a clear indication that we are ready to have this legal framework to go ahead and to guide us and, of course, enhance compliance, that we improve the safety and health at workplaces. So I did not see any resistance. Hence, I don't see why we cannot comply. I see it's really, from what I have seen, I'm hoping for positive response.
Now, finally, ma'am, what do you hope the biggest takeaway from this workshop will be, and where can the public learn more about the contents and the next steps of the bill?
The biggest takeaway I take from this workshop is the need for social dialogue. We need to have more platforms where we have stakeholders, where we engage stakeholders and social partners just to discuss specific issues or certain issues relating to the safety and health at workplace. Looking at the discussion, how it really went, it's really a clear indication that more platforms, more social dialogue is really needed. The other thing, the issue of collaboration and cooperation, is that as a government or as a ministry responsible for enforcement of occupational safety and health, we need to collaborate with other institutions. During the discussion of these 2 days, where we have stakeholders from different institutions, it gives us really a clear indication that we need to collaborate more. There are issues like this bill it's proposing or providing for some new concepts. If I have to take an example of a commuting accident, that we are required to monitor, to record, and to report commuting accidents, not just to consider on accidents that are taking place at workplace, but what is happening to accidents that are workers undergoing or suffering from on their way to work, or perhaps somewhere in the middle between workplace to workplace. So during our engagement, we could manage to say, in this process, we need to engage MVA, we need to engage Social Security, we need to engage perhaps the Ministry of Home Affairs with the police who get first to the scene and so on. So it was really an opportunity to open eyes widely and think beyond the normal way that how we see things. But as we engage in this workshop, we started networking and really coming up with some strategy to say, when can we address these issues? So these are the 2 key takeaways that I have from this workshop. And in terms of what the public can expect from this process, when can they have the bill? Of course, yesterday or the workshop stakeholders and social partners were really presented with the roadmap of the bill to say we have validated the bill. We have a legal process that we have to follow now. From here, it has to go to the Labor Advisory Council before we send it in the legal process to Attorney General, and then it will go to other channels. In terms of the public now, how we can publicly make this document available and also the steps, or to say the roadmap, I think this is something that we still need to iron out as a ministry on how to do this, to make this available for the public. I remember at the drafting stage, before we went for stakeholder consultation, we have deposited this bill, or we posted this bill in the ministerial website for the public to access it for their comments and inputs. We will see whether we can do the same, or we have to wait for the legal drafting process that perhaps they can publicly make it available for everyone.